It's Shallon, bitch. That sounded cooler. That sounded cooler when I was putting on my makeup. Like I thought it was going to turn out cooler. It didn't. That's okay. Welcome back, Shalligators. At long last, we are going to talk about Britney Spears and the Free Britney movement because, as you know, the new Hulu documentary, Framing Britney Spears, it's a New York Times documentary, is out, and like the whole Britney movement is like popping off once again. I'm going to share my unpopular and controversial opinions. When are they not? I'm also going to share some firsthand stories from some of my friends about their run-ins with Britney. And I'm going to share you some of the stuff that I know about Britney based on being a tabloid editor. And it's funny, in some of like the footage from that documentary, they were showing magazine covers. Like I wrote some of those articles, which I was like, oh, I remember that headline. Like I loved that headline, or I remember that cover. So we're going to go through that. But more than that, we're not just going to talk about Britney, because who's not talking about Britney? We're going to talk about how this can relate to our lives and how we can use these things to fuel ourselves into a better plane of existence. And when I asked you guys on my Instagram, follow me at shallonxo. I love to ask your opinion on topics. I always want to know what you have to say. Overwhelmingly, the topic that you guys came up with this Britney Spears thing was how to stand up for yourself. How to stand up for yourself in the face of a bully, in the face of someone overbearing, and how to be assertive, but not be like a total insane bitch. The difference is assertiveness versus aggressiveness. Assertiveness versus aggressivity. I prefer the word aggressivity. I think it's cooler. So get on board. But we're going to break it down. I'm going to give you concrete steps to cultivate one and not the other, and illuminate why aggressive is actually the weakest, kind of most backfiery thing of all that you can do. But before we get started, just want to remind you guys to join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on XO Radio. It's our weekly radio show. It's exclusively on the Station Head app, which is free. Just go ahead and download it. And it's super fun. You can call in and connect with me. You can request songs, comment live, and I comment back. It's a whole new way to connect with me. And we play like a different theme every week. Tomorrow's episode is going to be bad bitch power anthems. And it's, you know, the songs you put on like in the car on the way to the job interview or the Tinder date, or you're like getting ready for something important. You're like, yeah, I'm a badass. I'm going to play you my favorites. I want to know your favorite songs. Comment them below and I'll add them to the playlist. And before we jump into the video, just a quick word from our sponsor. Shalligators, I've been really open with you guys about my struggles with my skin. Like, why am I an adult and dealing with breakouts? Why? How is this fair? I used to use like Clearasil. I know. But finally I made a switch to a company that's focused on not like stripping your skin completely off and starting from scratch, but making it healthier from the inside out using probiotics. Tula Skincare. It's doctor formulated, it's clean beauty, safe, never tested on animals, free of all like the weird icky things, and it has made such a difference in my skin, it's crazy. What has changed the most? Using this cleanser. This is their cult classic purifying face cleanser. It takes your makeup off without like stripping your skin of the oils and everything that it needs, and infusing it with probiotics. So I start with this, but as the day goes on, you know your makeup can need a little bit of refreshment, especially in the winter when it's really dry. So I go for the Signature Glow Brightening Facial Mist. I love this stuff. It's so hydrating. It's made with all natural ingredients, and it just kind of reconstitutes my makeup. So go to Tula.com and use code ShallonXO, special deal just for you Shalligators, to get 15% off your Tula order. Now that's something to smile about. So this documentary, right? Okay. I didn't want to watch. I have not wanted to cover this Britney Spears thing. Like, for you guys have been asking for like years, and I'm the same people who are like, free Britney, do a video about Britney, or like, leave Britney alone. Well, which is it? Which is it? And I have just kind of wanted to leave her alone. And I've touched on her before. I think we did a Retro Bay video about her and Justin Timberlake. We're going to talk about them again in this video. But I grew up loving Britney, like idolizing her. And she totally gave me an eating disorder with the Slave For You video. And so this Britney doc is out. And if you don't know the Free Britney movement, here's the TLDR. She's been under conservatorship, which basically means someone else has control over a large portion of her life. And conservatorships break down in different ways. They can be something like, this person can't feed themselves, they can't clothe themselves. You know, someone who might be like mentally disabled or have a head injury, things like that, or mental illness. Or conservatorships, like the way Britney shakes down, is it's not like she can't brush her teeth and drive a car. It's that she can't tell the difference between friend and foe. Essentially, like financially, she's in grave danger of getting fleeced. And that was kind of the cornerstone of why this conservatorship happened. And it happened after her very public meltdowns of shaving the head, the umbrella attack, all of these things. And she had that psycho manager, Sam Lutfi. I always thought it was Lufty. Whatever. He's got that weird soul patch. Never try. Judge a man by his facial hair. Don't judge a book by its cover. Yes, you can. Judge a man by bedazzled jeans and weird-ass soul patches. I said what I said. Said what I said. Tribal tattoos also. Said what I said. So after he was like the Svengali over her life and possibly like drugging her, siphoning off her money, her father, Jamie Spears, stepped in and sort of wrested control away from Sam and onto himself. And he has been now a permanent conservator over Britney for the last 12 years. And a lawyer who had worked with him, who is now back on his team, is like, I've never seen a conservatory, it's not that. I've never seen someone in Britney's position successfully disentangle themselves. Because in order to get out of conservatorship, you have to prove, the burden of proof is on the Britney. To be like, no, I'm fine, I can handle things myself. She's gone to court a few times, petitioned to have the conservatorship removed, and it's never worked. The judge has always found in favor of her father. And people have a million different conspiracy theories. Those two sad women who run that Brittany Graham podcast, who think that like she's sending coded messages through her Instagram. Okay. All right. Okay. I made notes about this. Like I took copious notes when I watched the documentary. And the number one note I took, the very first thing I wrote was absolute losers. The people picketing outside a courthouse, get a life. I have fan accounts. I have fans. #blessed. They're not standing outside a courthouse. Okay, they're going and living their lives. They have lives. That's why they're my fan. And that's why they like my advice, because I encourage them to have a life. A cool life, a rich, diverse life. And I am just an infinitesimal part of that life. I am not their entire reason for existing. And these Britney people haven't seemed to have gotten that memo. I mean, the Google Docs, remember the chick was like, I have a very comprehensive Google Doc and we're all on it. I'm like, for what? For fucking what? What are any of you people doing? Like, send your like positive vibes to her, but like, what? So one thing that stood out to me in the documentary is when she was like the publicist at Jive Records. She had like the short curly hair. And she's like, you know, it's really fun to rip a young, beautiful, talented girl to shreds. And that's what the media did to Britney. Could not agree more. When they were going over like the past footage of like Britney's interviews when she was a teenager, like my skin was crawling, asking her like these old men, like, so everyone's talking about your breasts, like go fuck yourself, like asking her about virginity. And the lady, I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy, I'm so sorry, I'm not picking my nose. And the lady was like, you know, no one was asking boys about that. No one was asking about their dick length. No one was asking the Backstreet Boys how long they lasted in bed. No one was doing that. It's something that is so specific to women. And it's so true. And it's so gross. And a big thing that's come out about this documentary that people have a big issue with is how Diane Sawyer treated Britney in the interview. Because this interview, she interviewed Britney when she was like, I don't know, 21, something like that, 21, 22. And her relationship with Justin Timberlake had ended priorly to that. And Justin is also getting a ton of shit for this because of his misogynistic video for Cry Me a River about Britney cheating on him and, was bullying her. She did cheat on him. Okay? And he was, 19, 20? He was crushed. It was his first love. What do you think an artist writes songs about? Decorative pillows? Or, I don't know, the things that go on in their life? Is that not why you listen to them? Because their songs resonate and you're like, oh, I feel what they're going through. I'm going through it too. And now you want to like #cancel Justin Timberlake. Cancel Justin Timberlake because he's a dick and he's a cheater. Like he is. This is not like, I'm no Justin Timberlake stan, but I am a Justin Timberlake apologist. She did cheat on him. Like, okay? And she cheated on him with Wade Robson, their choreographer, and Wade told Justin. Wade Robson might sound familiar. He was the guy He was in the Escaping Neverland, the documentary, the Michael Jackson documentary. He was like one of the kids who was molested by Michael, the little Australian one. So cute. It's just, I know, Hollywood's like just so interconnected. It's so bizarre. But I mean, to come after Justin Timberlake is so ridiculous. Like, Britney was not the victim in that situation. But she was the victim in the Diane Sawyer interview. Watching that footage, I remember watching it, like, at the time. And I remember, I was young, but I remember just thinking, like, how fragile Britney seemed. And just how, if it was me, I would have just been in tears the whole time. And Diane Sawyer was really, like, going for it, going for the kill, and going for that big reaction. First of all, dude, that's her fucking job. Like, do you know that's her job, though? She's not her mom. She's not her best friend. She's a reporter. And a reporter's job is to get the scoop, get the soundbite, get the story, have it go big. That's the gig. I was not a good reporter for that reason. I was an excellent editor, and I'm a great writer. But I'm humble. I'm gorgeous and humble. But I wasn't a good reporter because I couldn't do it. I couldn't ask those kinds of things, and I couldn't watch someone like... I couldn't feel them be upset about something and just like keep going. And I mean, some of my colleagues, they'd be like, so tell us about your miscarriage. Oh my gosh, so I heard your son died last year. How's that going? It's like every good reporter I know is a little bit of a sociopath, or I don't know, I don't know what they have, but they have something where they don't care what's going on with the person that they're speaking to. Either they can't read those emotions, or it's like blood in the water to them. And it's just never, it was never my thing. So look, though, Britney had it really, really hard. And you look back at just like also the paparazzi chasing her. And I can't imagine living like that. I can't imagine living like that when you were a full grown adult, right? I have like a little tiny baby eye drop full of fame. Just the tiniest boop of fame. But I have enough glimpse behind the curtain to get a sense of, holy shit, what would this be like? I've also worked in celebrity journalism, so I understand fame from that end too. And I couldn't do this job and have this level of scrutiny that I have, which is nothing. It's not Britney level. If I was 16 or 19 or 21 even, I had to be a full-ass woman, an actual activated, fully assembled fucking weapon, okay? So what Britney has endured at such a young age is trauma. We talk about this all the time. The trauma of fame. You look at someone like Justin Bieber, it is crystal clear what age he's stuck at. Like 15, 16? He's like Bart Simpson, right? Britney? Same. Fame is a type of trauma. And trauma, it is absolutely well known and a psychological truth that it freezes you at the age at which it occurs. I am stuck at 22 because that's when my father committed suicide. And I know that. And I know it. And you know what? Somebody said, one of you guys said to me, and it was on my blog, Eat, Pray, Love. Go ahead and sign up. It's fun. And it's very cozy. One of you guys described it as like a very cozy space. Like it's super intimate. And one of you guys were like, if you have to be stuck at an age, 22 is actually a dope one. Like you're young, you're smart and you're sort of mature, but you're like young and vibrant. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for telling me my trauma is enviable. But I honestly appreciate it. But look, I know that. And so I take steps in my life to not only date 22-year-olds. I mean, is it my fault they're hotter than like 42-year-olds? Is it my fault? It's not my fault they like me either. But Britney is stuck at 16. I want you to keep this in mind as we move forward, okay? Because we're going to kind of circle back to this. What I didn't like about this documentary is literally almost everything. It was so incredibly one-sided. It interviewed not one person from Jamie's camp or who is in support of this conservatorship. Not one. It interviewed none of her actual friends. It was employees only. And the lady Felicia, who is... bless her heart. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Like, she just seems so sweet. Doesn't she just seem like when they did the little clacky thing, she's like, ah! She was like so tickled. It was so cute. But she I think they really cherry picked who they interviewed, because Felicia, who served as Britney's assistant, she was kind of like her second mom, her like surrogate mom, chaperone. She traveled with her when Britney's parents couldn't when she was a teenager, and I'm sure took on a very mom-like role to her. And she kept saying that it sucks so much that she's under conservatorship, because she's like, I know what Britney's capable of, and I know what she can do, and I know how hard she works and how seriously she was taking her career in the beginning and all this stuff, and just she can do so much. That was the old Britney. Mental illness presents in your late teens and your early 20s. This is a fact. Okay. And this is very hard. This is the worst possible time for it to present, because it's typically when most of us are away from home for the first time. My clinical depression absolutely presented then. That's when I became a cutter. That's when I became bulimic. And not that no one could help me, but like I was far from my back home friends. Like they were at Berkeley, UCLA, wherever. I was at Cal Poly. My mom wasn't there. I didn't know anyone at this school. I mean, all my friends were new. And when you're in a new environment, the people around you, they don't know if this is just you, if this is mental illness. And you know what? They don't fucking care. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. They're wrapped up in their own life, as they should be. That's adolescence. That's young adulthood. And it can be a really potentially dangerous scenario, because you just don't have the eyes on you that you might need. So it's very important to seek out mental health treatment. You know, if you feel, hey, something's not right, you can't wait for someone else to notice that. We are able and we are allowed to notice it in ourselves. So Britney's behavior changed drastically at exactly that time. And I know this is what everyone says. But it was the fame. It was the paparazzi. It was all these things. It absolutely was those things as well. And it's impossible to understand where one ends and the other begins. But the point is, neither one of those things is changing. If she is not under conservatorship, she's not famous. People are like, let her live a normal life. Oh, really? Really? Do you think her life is going to be normal? Because are you free Britney lunatics the ones who are going to be buying the tabloids with all of her photos and she's like out trying to go to Target? Yeah, you are. So don't say you want her to live a normal life when you're the one putting all this scrutiny on her. You guys, she is living kind of a normal life. Also, so the fame isn't going to stop. And her mental state isn't going to automatically heal itself and evaporate if this conservatorship is lifted. And an account that I love, Exposing SMG, hi you two, they made a really good point talking about this. They're like, you kind of can't just spit her back into the world. She went into this conservatorship, I mean, when she was young, she was like, what, 27, something like that. She doesn't know how to navigate things by herself anymore. And yes, she could learn, but like, it's like taking someone out of prison and just like, boop, get back in the real world. Good luck working at Oracle. Like, that is unrealistic. You understand that people are going to have a really rough adjustment. It's going to be tough. Same with Britney. So it's not realistic to just lift this veil over her. And yes, of course she was under a ton of scrutiny from the press and everything like that, but that doesn't negate mental illness. That doesn't mean, oh, well, she's not mentally ill, it's the press. Both can be true. And unfortunately, you look at Kanye West. You even look at Justin Bieber. He's been very open about his mental health struggles and depression, anxiety. I mean, who the fuck can blame these people for being depressed and anxious when their life is in a fishbowl? Of course. But again, neither one of those things are changing. So Felicia is speaking truth when she says, the Britney I knew is capable and all this stuff, but that is not Britney anymore. Look at that woman's Instagram. Look at her Instagram. Look at her face. Look at what she's wearing, how she's acting. Look at her makeup. And people say, Shallon, your makeup shaming her, your eyeshadow shaming her. No. The way someone physically presents is an extremely strong indicator of mental health. Do you know that your hair is one of the main indicators of mental health? It's true. It's something doctors look at. Are you physically dirty? Are you unkempt? Have you picked at a million things on your face? I mean, if I'm PMSing in a bad mood, yes. You can look at Britney Spears, that morning after walk of shame makeup, like she put on Like she had her makeup done 4 days ago and was just like, ah, like rah, 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 rah. And then went to her closet full of like JCPenney clearance rack, Betsy Johnson, chapter 11 fucking fire sale dresses from 1998, put them on and started spinning in circles. When was the last time you spun in a circle? It's agony. I can't even get on carousel. It's agony. True, Britney's a professional dancer and it probably isn't as awful for her. But her behavior is not what I would call stable. I'm not a doctor, but I am literate and I have pretty good instincts. And I think most of us can look at her and be like, if she didn't have tons of money and someone kind of blunting the corners of life for her, she'd probably be on the street. If she'd stayed in Kentland, Louisiana, and the same mental illness had presented, whether it's bipolar, schizophrenia, who knows? That would be a woman who is homeless. And you know who said that? One of my friends. One of my friends who walked into her hotel room, and Britney, they were Hollywood friends, and Britney opened up a drawer. There was like paraphernalia around. What kind of paraphernalia? Gee, I don't know. I'll let you guys. Maybe paraphernalia for like making slime. I don't know. Who knows? Perhaps making grilled cheese sandwiches. And Britney opened a drawer. Like she was like rifling through the drawers and all these little sheets of tinfoil came flying out. I wonder what that was for. One thing I hated about this documentary, I feel like I said that a bunch of times because there's an unlimited amount of things I hated in this documentary, is how it just glossed over the entire run up to her breakdown and blamed it on the paparazzi. Look, I blame the paparazzi for sure. I mean, the way they watched that girl, she's lucky she didn't end up like Princess Diana, 100%. But they also were, I remember this one guy, he's like, no one was talking about mental health. Yes, we were. Yes, we were. Everyone was talking about her mental health. That she was like running around the street barefoot and smoking cigs and picking at her face and dyeing her hair. Remember when she married Kevin Federline? That was like all I needed to see is her wedding to Kevin Federline. I use air quotes because it was the jankiest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. Do you know she had a cash bar at her own wedding? People had to pay for drinks. That's what that means. There was not an open bar at Britney Spears' wedding that was in her home. If that's not mental illness, I don't know what is. Someone making people pay, wedding guests pay for drinks. She like had her bra strap hanging down. She had a dress so short her labia were out. I'm like, this is not a healthy person. This is not a healthy woman. And I was not the only one saying that. Everyone was saying that. And this documentary didn't say any of that. It's like, oh, I mean, you know, she was stressed, blah, 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 but Jamie. Britney is mentally ill. And you know who honestly said it best? Prepare yourself. Aubrey O'Day. Aubrey O'Day said it best. She tweeted like before her whole like weird photo thing. Remember? Aubrey O'Day blocked me on Instagram. I'm like, Aubrey. She's blocked like 5,000 people. Anyway. She's like, this Free Britney movement has to stop. I don't know why her fans can't just accept that she's mentally ill and can't take care of herself. I don't know why that's so hard to simply accept. And I'm like, damn, isn't that it though? Why is it so difficult to understand that maybe she's where she needs to be? That she is mentally ill, she can't take care of herself, she's lost custody of her children for like a reason. Maybe the courts and lawyers and doctors and people who know her the best have made this decision for a reason. And her fans, who know absolutely jack shit about her, aren't in the right, who don't know the whole story. And what people go back to is like, but when she performs. Beyonce is like this too, okay? A lot of teen performers are like this. You get them on the stage and they're like this sleeper cell that activates. They do what they're sent here to do. But then they get off stage and they're like, what's a koala? I've dated a lot of professional athletes. And my ex-boyfriend, who my original Hurt Locker, he was kind of like that. There were so many things, like he didn't know he could drink the water, like that came out of a tap. His life, in order to achieve the level he was at, some things had to go, right? You can't know everything. He didn't know who the vice president was of his own country. The vice prime minister? Actually, he didn't know who the prime minister was, who's Canadian. I forgot about that. Yeah. So, of course they're going to be good at the thing that they have done morning, noon, and night forever. When you think about it, Britney also has like, what, a 6th grade education? Listen to Jessica Simpson's book, read her book. It talks about her lack of education, her like dumb blonde thing. I mean, yeah, partly because she's a bit of a silly goose. I mean, she's a great businesswoman now, but part of it's she simply wasn't educated. That wasn't the focus. You know, maybe just because you have a GED, that's not the same as a high school diploma. And even then, a high school diploma, cool. You learn a lot in college. You really do, or some sort of secondary education. So we look at these people as being like so proficient only because they're good at one specific thing. But that is not the whole picture. And people, you want to talk about leave her alone? Leave her the fuck alone, dude. Like, she's not going to get out of this conservatorship. And honestly, she shouldn't. I also want to talk about Britney's boyfriend, Sam Asghari. Let's talk about Sam. You want to talk about Sam? You think he's a fucking hero in this? Let's talk about Sam. So he used to date Morgan Osmond. She was on the Bad Girls Club. When Sam got together with Britney, Morgan came out swinging and she's like, you're in this fake ass relationship with, like, you're basically using Britney. You're so gross. You were in a real relationship with me. And like, what are you doing? I hate you. That told me that Sam is a clout chaser. He is a former fat kid and they can have a real chip on their shoulder. Can't they? I mean, he lost like 100 pounds or something and he's ripped up. He's gorgeous, but they can have a bit of a complex. And it's no coincidence that he goes from like successful woman to successful woman, right? And he posted this statement on Instagram after this came out. He said, now it's important for people to understand that I have zero respect for someone trying to control our relationship and constantly throwing obstacles our way. In my opinion, Jamie is a total dick. I won't be going into detail because I've always respected our privacy, but at the same time, I didn't come to this country to not be able to express my opinion and freedom. Sam, did you come to this country to work and have a job? Because you don't have one. You are on the Britney Spears company payroll. And Britney doesn't necessarily know that. I've heard that she found it out like last year and was like devastated. But it's interesting that he's biting the hand that feeds. Now at this point, we're going to circle back to Britney being stuck at 16. Because remember I said that's going to be important? When you're 16, your dad's a dick. Your parents are dicks. Everyone's a dick. We just can't be free. Who the fuck knows what Britney has been telling Sam or what Sam has been telling Britney? Can't you picture this guy, Captain Clout, who came to Hollywood, revolutionized himself, only dates famous hot women, and gets paid by them and is fine with that? I mean, what does he do all day? Nothing. He's Britney's kept man. Cool. Baby, if it wasn't for that conservatorship, I'd marry you and I'd build you a castle and we'd do all these things. We'd have more kids. Like, he could just be they're together all day, just gassing her up more. Because if her dad doesn't control her money, guess who probably would? Her husband. How interesting. So of course, he's going to paint this man as, like he said, an obstacle. Obstacles in our way. You mean an obstacle towards her money? I don't know. I don't trust Sam Asghari as far as I can throw him. I think he keeps her in line. Like, I think he's a good sort of like babysitter, emotional support animal. Like, he keeps her working out and probably healthy and off drugs. Great. I don't think he's like anything to write home about. Okay. So in sum, my opinion on Britney, I didn't mean to talk about Britney for this long because we are going to get into assertive versus aggressive. She's where she needs to be. She's not going to get better. Right? Just because she's good doesn't mean she's good enough to be completely on her own. That's my opinion. And I think people just need to grow the fuck up and literally leave her alone. Like, she has people to advocate for her. She has her mom. She has her sister. She has her brother. Notice they haven't said anything. I mean, her mom said she wants to be involved in her medical decisions, but where's Jamie Lynn? Where's her brother Brian? Like, he didn't have anything to say. I mean, does Sam get a lawyer and advocate for her? No. So, okay. I think her fans that are so up in arms about this, like, it's sweet, but it also speaks to their incredible naivete about mental illness and its longevity. But when we act like she can just will herself out of it, or like, if she makes enough funny TikToks, like, that means she's okay. No, it doesn't. Doctors know, lawyers know, judges know, her inner circle knows. And when you think about it, almost no one in her inner circle is saying anything contrary to this. So I think Britney is where she needs to be. I mean, look, her dad won't live forever. Think of it that way. So let's move into our lessons. Because there's a lot to learn here. There's a lot to unpack. And like I said, your number one question about this was how to stand up for yourself, how to be assertive when people want to control you. And that can come in very overt forms. We're not letting you move out. You have to marry who we say, stay in our religion, don't go here, do this project for no extra money. It can come in small forms. We're going to brunch where I say we are. Or, things like that. So we have to learn to be assertive at all times on all fronts. So let's define the terms. What is the difference between aggressive and assertive? Aggressive people are seeking dominance, okay? They're seeking victory, not peace. They're seeking control in a big way over a person, place, thing, some sort of noun, right? Or situation. The assertive are standing up for themselves. They have boundaries that they have very clearly self-defined before this situation arose, and they're employing it. They're deploying consequences. Let's talk about aggressive people first, okay? So aggressive people, when you have an aggressive reaction, it's an overcorrection because of your lack of boundaries. Think about when you freaked out on someone or blown up. Chances are it's because you kept something pushed down inside of you. You freaked out on a boyfriend. You blew up at a friend. It's because you weren't constructively expressing yourself. You were being pushed beyond your boundaries, either because you didn't know them or you didn't set them or you didn't deploy any consequences when they breached them. And then you just boom, you explode. And part of the reason we explode, of course, we're mad at that person, but we're mad at ourselves. We're mad at ourselves because we knew better. We knew that spending all this money on this stupid bullshit bachelorette trip was beyond our boundaries. We knew that we don't want to go to tapas for brunch, but we didn't say anything. And now here we are with a $75 bill and I'm still hungry. We knew. And we didn't take the steps, the alpha, warm-blooded steps to deploy those boundaries. Again, either because we didn't bother to set them in the first place or we were too chicken shit to convey them. The time to convey your boundaries is not necessarily right in the moment, right? That's when it's difficult. Sex is a great crystal clear example of this. The time to tell a guy, hey, I'm not going to go all the way, it's not when the panties are off. That's not when it is. It's somewhere like around the making out session. It's not when like everyone's on top of each other, okay? And we can see that. Same with like being on a trip you can't afford. The time to say, hey, I can't afford this trip is not when you touch down in Barcelona. That's not it. So the first and foremost step in order to becoming assertive versus aggressive is to come up with these boundaries. Make a list. Look at the areas of your life where you do feel like you blow up or you want to blow up. The things that just keep like turning over and over in your mind that just like stick in your craw and you get a spiral about. That tells you, that's an indicator light. I need to set some boundaries here. Overwhelmingly, the thing that encourages assertiveness is confidence. And I know what you're thinking. Well, how can I be confident if I'm not assertive, but I'm not assertive because I'm not confident? It's like, it's a spiral. It's a chicken and the egg. You know what, bitch? You fake it till you make it. You fake it till you make it. You learn by doing. You pick one boundary to set. I'm not going to tapas anymore. I hate it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you guys, but I'm not going there. And you will become addicted to what happens next. Because I'll tell you what happens next. People are going to respond in one of two ways. We actually talk about this on the podcast this week. Check out the Girl on Top podcast. It's out tomorrow. It's about victim mentality and how to call someone out who's a constant victim and is basically an emotional terrorist. One of two things are going to happen. I don't want to go to tapas. You're going to have people who are like, okay, let's go to Mexican. People who really don't give a shit. And then you're going to have people who do. What do you mean? You are always so negative. You're just like, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. No, Crystal. I didn't say I don't want to go anywhere. I said I don't want to go to tapas. I don't like it. Can we go someplace that we all would enjoy? Like, don't we all deserve to enjoy brunch, or do you not think that? That's not hostile. That's not aggressive. That's just telling it like it is. The people who hate your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none at all, right? So the people who are going to get mad at what you're saying in these new boundaries and you standing up for yourself, well, that's because they benefited from you just being a complete pushover. All the tapas in the world for them. Great, now they have a traveling buddy to Barcelona. Fuck your credit card debt. They don't care. You gotta smoke these people out. You gotta smoke them out. I hate seeing this side of people, but I love knowing who is on my side and who isn't. Because now, if I've got the crystal being like, fuck you and your tapas hating, we're going to tapas. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's how it's going to be. So now I don't need to feel bad about not showing up to brunch. I don't need to take your call when your boyfriend's dumped you for the 800th time with good reason. I don't have to feel guilty about living my life for myself and not inviting you places. Thank you. Thank you. Now I have like information. I have data. But you don't know that until you stand up for yourself, right? Another easy way to cultivate assertiveness, positive statements. Say you don't want to go to tapas anymore. Instead of like, I hate tapas and I don't want to fucking go and you guys never even ask. Drama. That's aggressive, right? It creates a lot of tension, hostility. It's a peace versus victory thing. A better statement would be, guys, I want to pick brunch this week because I have been looking, I've been doing my Yelp research. I found an amazing place. It's not tapas, but that's okay. We're going to branch out. That's positive. That's assertive. You're putting yourself out there. I'm a leader. No, we're going to do this. I have a plan. I'm giving you incentives to come along. I've done my research. It's going to be good. We're going to branch out. But it also creates the room for other input. You're not like, we're going someplace else. We're going to fucking fondue, Caitlin. You can eat a dick if you can dip a dick in the fondue if you don't like it. Boil a dick and put it in cheese and eat it. That's not what you're saying. You're leaving room for feedback. That's what a leader does. Another way to cultivate assertiveness is to stand up for others. It's sometimes a lot easier to stand up for someone else than for ourselves, right? And I mean, it is for me. Like, I am just a fucking sword and shield for people sometimes. I'm that person who, if someone is like screaming at their kid or like hitting their kid in a grocery store and people are like, don't get involved. Oh, I get involved. I get involved. So I'm like, you can pick on me. I'm not as sweet as I look. Okay? Nope. So sometimes that's easier. So practice going to bat for other people. If you don't feel able to be assertive in your job, stand up for your coworkers. Be like, hey, you know what? Tony in photos, she deserves a raise. She's working so hard. Kelly in design, she also is like, why don't you give her birthday off? She's great. And then you're going to get addicted to that feeling of what happens. You're like, wow, people are listening to me. I feel confident. So I'm going to keep doing this. And eventually you're going to get around to you. Okay? And that's great. Another crucial aspect of assertiveness, grit. Standing up for yourself is not always going to do exactly what you want it to. It's going to fail sometimes. You can stand up for yourself. I deserve a raise. No, sit down. Okay. You know what? You swing and a miss. At least you swung. You did more than you would have, right? Grit, grit, grit. It is the foundation truly of success. If I get another tattoo, it's going to be grit on my wrist because my mom always said, she's like, you're gritty. I was like, thank you. You get knocked down, you get back up again. And when you do that, you build self-esteem. So even your failures are creating more self-esteem. I mean, if you look at a little kid, the way a little kid builds self-esteem and resilience is they fall off the jungle gym, they get up, they climb it again. You fall off the horse, you get right back on. You fall off a man, you get right back on. Obviously. So that's going to be positive and helpful. Last but not least, disengage. You stand up for yourself and you see that people aren't here for it. That's not what they want from you. They want you to be a tool. Okay, bye. Don't stick around and fight it out. So let's talk about aggressiveness. Like we said, aggressiveness is the overcorrection. When you feel spineless and when you feel like you're constantly taken advantage of, it's just bleh! It's this explosion. And we have all felt like this. And you know how we feel? Crazy. We feel crazy, out of control, embarrassed. That's not assertive. That's not a power position. That to me is the ultimate weakness. I've lost control of my emotions. Being aggressive is also going to alienate your support staff, like the people who love you. You know, have you ever had like someone in your life, maybe your mom or your grandma, so why don't you call me more? Why don't you call me more? Where it's like nothing's ever enough, victim mentality. What do? You back away. You back away. You do the bare minimum. Oh, fine, I'll call her. You hate it. You're not plugged into the situation, right? That's because they're being aggressive. They're not standing up for themselves. Hey, I've been going through a really hard time. It would mean so much to me if you would check in on me once a week when you have time. It would just mean the world to me. That's an assertive person. That's someone who's communicating their needs, not in an extortionist blackmail martyrdom way, but hey, this is what I need, okay? And the other half of that statement, the tacit implication is, but if you don't, I'll either understand or it might change the nature of our relationship. This isn't a threat, but I'm just laying it out for what I need. And we've experienced this in dating on the flip side. We talked before about ultimatums, how ultimatums, like statistically, they don't work. Or, I mean, they can work. If you don't delete her number, we're fucking done. Cool. He might delete her number. It doesn't mean he's stopping thinking about her. Doesn't mean they're not meeting up. Doesn't mean he's going to be another her that replaces whatever bitch this is. Ultimatums, they're aggressive and they're hostile. But if you go to a guy and you're like, hey, look, I know that you're still texting your ex. That's not a situation I can be in. I'm not telling you have to do something or not. You're a grown-ass man. You know what to do. But I'm telling you that if this continues, this just isn't a relationship I can stay in. I'm sorry. They're actually the same statement, but worded in a way where one is hostile and creates resentment and alienates the person you're trying to draw towards you. And one isn't. One is, you know what? No. What do we say about confidence? Confidence is not, I know they're going to like me. They are. Confidence is, I'll be fine if they don't. Confidence, in a way, is neutrality. You don't like me? That sounds like a you problem. You don't want to give me this promotion? That's fine. I'm sure I'll find another job that would. It's a detachment that is rooted in our faith in ourself and our faith in the universe to put something better in our path. Well, that's how you want to behave? Okay. There's 1,000 years. There's only one of me. Bye. That's assertiveness. And that gets you so much further than screaming and hollering and being aggressive, right? Because one thing research has found is that people who do act like that, they're the little turtle without the shell, and then they're the great white shark, and then back and forth in this huge cycle. They think of themselves as cowards. So they are forever both seeking out things that confirm that, not standing up the tapas is fine, or they're wildly overreacting to counter it when that cognitive dissonance buildup gets too big. I hate tapas, and yet here I am. And then they explode and lash out. We have all been around people like that. And like I said, we've been that person too. And it sucks. It sucks so bad. So with these steps, we can veer into the assertive category and away from the aggressive. But like I said, it starts with knowing your boundaries, knowing yourself, knowing who you're dealing with, whether this is going to land well or not, and then making steps to get out of that relationship and maybe into better ones. Or at the very least, be alone for a little while and protect your peace. I want to know your thoughts on Britney, bitch. I want to know your thoughts on when you've been aggressive versus assertive, what changed, what worked better, and your little tips for standing up for yourself, because Lord knows we could all use it in every category. I'll see you later, Shalligators.